welcome to another episode of Pink Pony Paint. Okay, yeah, it's a singing one, and it's super special because we have Emily Swan, of course, and then Carrie of Horse Girls and Horse Camp.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Hello, horse friends. Thank you for having me.
Yes. No, thank you for coming on the show.
Yes. This is delightful. All these horse girls in the same room. Kind of.
Yeah, same digital room.
Metaphor.
Yes, we'll take that.
And of course, we have you here because the second book, we already read Horse Girl, and we cannot say enough about that book. That's one of our all-time favorites. But now you wrote Horse Camp.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so Horse Camp is a sequel to Horse Girl, and we follow Willa and her group of pals from Oakwood Riding Academy as they go to summer camp that's a horse camp in Colorado. But a horse mysteriously goes missing, and Willa has to figure out what happened to the horse, and it might possibly be her fault that the horse is missing. So there's an adventure, there's summer camp adventure, there's mystery, there's a little like crush going on or crushes. It's just a really fun, angsty, but joyous, funny mystery for tweens and older people who love horses.
Yes, specifically 40-year-old men that read the series and love it.
Exactly.
Our favorite horse girl, Tim, the 40-year-old man.
Yes. Precisely. And I did have Tim in mind as, young readers. No, but that's one thing I always say about horses, that they let you time travel because they connect you with this wonderful part of yourselves when we were very young and innocent and pure and had faith in our big dreams and possibilities, and horses can do that for us. So I love that I have a lot of older readers. It makes me so happy.
No, I absolutely agree with the horse part. And I think it is written in such a wonderfully approachable way. And I'm always so happy that the way that you describe more technical horse things in the books, it makes it super, super accessible. And for people who lived that horse life, like it's the joyous parts of it, it's the frustrating parts of it, and it connects it all so well. So I just adore it.
Oh, good. Yeah, we put in what we call hoof notes instead of footnotes, so that if you're not an equestrian expert, you're able to keep up with the story and maybe learn something along the way. And then if you already know all that stuff, you can just brag about to your friends that already knew it.
One of my all-time favorite parts about that, though, is how it's still written in character voice, because it delights me every time.
Oh, good. Yeah, I really just wanted to get into her brain. And I think kind of all of our brains at that age, maybe, when you're just struggling about making decisions and you're making a lot of mistakes. And yeah, it feels a little bit like a diary, and Willa talking to herself throughout the whole book, and you get inside her brain and see what's going on and how she has really big emotions to things that are going on, which I think we can all relate to.
Yeah, there are times where it hits just that perfect, like, oh, you captured this feeling so acutely. And I loved reading diary-esque stories growing up. Like, that was such a fun way. And even as someone who didn't keep a diary, it was just such a fun way to talk through all of those thoughts in your head. And it just felt so natural.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think so much. I mean, it's so in today's era of social media where you're always presenting your most polished, perfect self, it's really fun to see what's going on underneath the surface and the rough stuff underneath that's going on in all of our brains that we maybe don't want the world to see, or when we're embarrassed, or when we like someone, or when we're afraid. I wanted to include all of that, more scrappy underbelly stuff that's going on with all of us.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that led to one of my favorite parts of the book. This is going to be hard to talk about, like, without a ton of spoilers. So I'm doing my best here. But one of my favorite parts, keeping that in mind, is the way that Willa keeps things from other people for so long. And I'm like, I know exactly that. Like, I'm on my own in this. And it's a thing that, like, now with the like adult context, you're like, you're not, you could tell anybody at any time and get help with that. But I love how it plays out so much.
Yeah, she's really reluctant to get help, and you do feel alone at that age a lot, and that you can't really tell your problems to anyone, and that just, we know now, maybe as more mature adults, that can cause way bigger problems, but I think it really is realistic, and gosh, the problems feel so much worse when you're dealing with them all by yourself. So, yeah, I'm glad we built up that tension.
I love it.
It's captured so well. And in those moments, and I remember feeling it so strongly in Horse Girl in the first read, just the like, oh no, just talk to someone, just say something to somebody. But in my brain, I'm also like, yeah, I would have been fully committed to this. No, I have to fix this right now. And it's only me. And I'm going to go through with this plan that I just made up and probably could have used a second draft of, but I was like, nope, we're going with it. And we're locked in. Let's go.
Yeah. And it's sort of admirable. Like she wants to fix the problems herself. She owns up to her mistakes, and it's always well-intentioned of, I'll solve this myself, which I think we can look back about like the Ramona books, and a lot of the things that inspired me were independent young girls or young ladies or young women who want to try to take care of things themselves. And then maybe make even more mistakes because of that. But at least they're really trying hard, and they're trying to be good, independent leaders.
I love the plans too. It's such like we're in very much a YA literature sphere, I feel like, and the plans, they're so good when it's like, I'm going to go do this thing. Well, what are you going to do with the horse at this point? And they're like, well, geez, didn't think of that one.
Figure that out yet. Quite yet. Yeah. Yeah. And that's just part of that age, right? Is that you can have big ideas, and that's the wonderful part of that age, and big dreams and huge imaginations, but you don't always play all the chess moves through to the end.
Yep. Short-term plans, got it. Locked in. Longer-term plans, less so.
Exactly.
Not quite there just yet.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of this, the other thing that I love about Horse Camp is the summer camp setting, because that's one of the places where kids have more independence than they normally would. And so they do really feel empowered, and maybe they're taking bigger swings at life because they're, for the first time, a little independent. And I just think it's such a fun world to explore. I've been, I did go to Horse Camp for a very short, like 1 week program at the local summer camp. It wasn't a real fancy one, but it was fantastic. But my stepchildren all went to these big summer camps where you go the whole summer, and the stories they'll tell now, like after we're years past, of what they did and the independence they had, are just mind blowing to me. So I love playing in that world of kids, being in charge a little bit themselves.
That's so cool. I love that so much. I didn't go to a summer camp. I was always the one working the summer camps. I was never going. So
Alex?
I'm so jealous.
But that's really cool that you were working at the camp.
Oh, it's that's how you pay for things, right?
Well, I'll tell you what I did discover at that camp was that I was severely allergic to horses.
Oh, no.
Just like the older sister in the book, Kay is Willa's older sister, and she's severely allergic to horses. So that's when I discovered, as much as I love horses, and this was pre-Claritin, right? So, it was pretty much a no-go on a regular basis for me. But my sister, we went to horse camp together, and then she went on and took all the lessons and did the dressage and the show jumping and all the competitions. And so the books are really a love letter to her and our sibling relationship.
I love that.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yes, but Alex, don't be too jealous, because I was using my hand.
I don't know. I'm still pretty jealous.
Yeah, It was great. And that's the thing, is that what I like about writing these books is that a lot of people don't get to have access to real horses, but their horses are still really a big part of their life. And I like talking about how even if you don't have your own horse, or even if you don't borrow your own horse or get to ride, you can still love horses, and they can just still be this really big part of your life.
Good. And absolutely throughout the book, like there's just things that like when you have horse girl cred, other horse girls immediately know it. So like, you're just like, yeah, Saddle Club, like dropping the Saddle Club. And like, I have that book on my shelf right now, the Horse Snap book. I do. So I was like, I lost it. But one of the things alongside that I loved is Amara as a character.
Yes.
The way that you subvert that trope of a character is brilliant. I love it so much.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. Yeah, you think she's just a straight up mean girl, but there's a little more going on. And it's so funny. I think I have Horse Up. Let me see. Hold on.
Yes. I love that.
I found it.
Yes.
Amazing.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. This was like my sister and I this was a really obviously in my brain. And I definitely credit Bonnie Bryant in the book because it just was such great inspo.
But I think that's why this series now feels so much like coming home. It feels like coming home to the horse books, but I don't feel like we're going back to, that era of horse books. It feels very current. And I think much like Alex was saying, with the subversion of how you expect the rich horse girl to be, she isn't just that. And these are characters with depth and complexity that feels like real people and feels like real kids. And so it's that great nostalgia tied in now with one that feels current and like kids are now today.
Oh, thank you so much. Because that was one of my big goals. And I wanted a nostalgia factor because I wanted that feeling of safety, right? You're reading a story that is going to keep you safe, but we wanted to make it fun and funny and comedic and of today. So that I'm so glad it came through because I worked really, really hard on that. And I wanted to earn the trust of horse girl readers who really are, have a high bar. And I'm honored. Yay.
So good. It's so good. I'm sorry. I love the book so much. And I feel like I could just keep talking about that.
One of the bigger challenges for me with horse camp is that it is a mystery. And I have never written a mystery and had really no idea what I was doing. There's a light mystery in the first book. You're trying to figure out who wrote the secret notes. There's a little bit more of a mystery feel to the Horse Camp second book. And I wrote almost all the book, and I was getting near the ending, and I kind of had an ending in mind, but I was like, I was so unhappy, and I felt like it would work. It would be fine. It would be fine. But then I just was struggling with finishing it. And that was telling me my brain wasn't as happy. Like it just wasn't excited to write the ending, which means something was off. And then one day I was in the shower getting ready to go try on wedding gowns. My life was very crazy at this time. And it came to me how I wanted the ending to be. And it was completely different. So I had to go back and sort of re-engineer it. But I was so excited to do it that I literally just ran to my computer, like sopping wet, like try to remember everything right away. And so anyway, I was very happy, but it just takes as long as it takes to get it right. And so, yes, I'm excited now for folks to read it and feel satisfied with the ending.
I love it. And it was so like, I did not guess. I had no inkling until the very end. Then I was like, duh, of course. But like until that point, I had no idea.
Oh, good. Probably because when I wrote it, I didn't know the ending.
Well, it's the perfect way to do it. So you've already nailed how to write mysteries. So
Just
going
keep
forward,
yourself in the dark as long as possible.
Oh, that's why I love it because I don't come from a writing side of things. I come from an art side of things. Like I will often surprise myself as I'm sketching something and have that, but the writing part of it is such an interesting level to me of oh no, it hadn't revealed myself. And the part of my brain's like, and you just kept going and you just kept writing and you weren't sure. Like that's so funny to me. Whereas it happens the same with the art that I make, but it's such a different oh, that's cool. We'll just figure it out when we get there. And if not, then we'll go back and fix it. And oh, I love it.
Well, but I wish it felt that easy at the time. It was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Wow, this book is due. So I wish I could act as calm and cool, in the moment. But if you do if you do give it the attention time, and then sometimes step away and go walk or do something away from the computer, as I'm sure when you're creating art, it's the same thing. Your brain is working on it and solving it. So, yeah.
Yep. No, and just to be so cliche and on the ball, I feel like that's very much like it was working with horses. Like, yeah, you can try and force this thing to be right in the time that you have, but you can't. Like, sometimes you just have to take a break and come back, and maybe the next time you go to do whatever you're doing with them, like, oh yeah, now it works fine. Now I'm fine with this thing that we were trying to do. And you're like, you weren't fine with it a week ago, but I'm happy we're here now.
Oh my gosh, I have chills. Like, I'd never thought of that. And it's totally right. You're totally right. Spot on. Wow. Yeah, that's exactly it. You have to put in the time, but then it happens at its own pace, its own, and especially working with a horse or writing about them, I guess. Wow. I'm like, I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the illustrator of the book cover is Steph Waldo. And Steph had never, ever done a book cover before. She comes from the animation world, and she just knocked it out of the park because it's just so, the covers are so alive, and they just capture the action and the angst just so well. And they're just, I get compliments all the time from bookstores, and that's when you really know the booksellers, because they see all the covers. So yay, Steph Waldo.
Yeah, big yay.
And then what's super cool is inside Horse Camp, along with the hoof notes, there is an illustration of the camp. It's a very small illustration, but it's so wonderfully done. And that was done by my other illustrator pal, Ron Baird, who did the designs for the covers for my other book series, which is the Flying Flamingo Sisters. He also had never done a book cover and was from the animation world. So I guess I'm just drawn to these animators.
Now it makes sense why you came through Swan, because it's the animation world right there.
Yep. Well, and it's so perfect because I got connected because of another author that I met through the Comic-Con world. So Brandon T. Snyder. So I got talking about Horse Girl stuff, and he's like, you need to meet my friend. And I was like, you're awesome. I'm sure that your friends are awesome too. So it was such a wonderful kismet.
Oh my gosh, Brandon's fantastic. Brandon's written like 100 and something books. He's incredible.
He's a machine. Yeah, no.
He's a machine, and he's hilarious. And we were both on Inside Amy Schumer, which we didn't know each other at the time, but he was a writer on it. I was just on like a teeny tiny part in 2 episodes, but we come from a very similar, we did the comedy background and then ended up doing children's books. So yeah, he's the best.
No, he's so good. And the show that we met at is this tiny, tiny little show in very rural Pennsylvania. And he came up. And so it's him and his partner, and like the group of us who went out for food and drinks afterwards, like we laugh the whole time. He is so funny. It made the show wonderful. And it was just, I was like, oh, I'm so thrilled that you keep coming back from New York City to this tiny little town in Pennsylvania to come and hang with us, because it makes it so much fun.
He's the best. He's so hilarious. He's so fun to be with.
Yes. I love it so much.
But that's what we do as authors, because we're so lonely. You know this from the art world too. You got to do a lot of your work by yourself and lonesome. So it's when you have an opportunity to connect like this today, it's just, I feel so lucky and I love it.
Yay.
All right. Well, we're already naturally pivoting into Horse Girls questions. So now I'm just going to keep asking you Horse Girls questions, and we've danced around it a little bit, but just more specifically, how'd you get into horses? Tell me more about your history.
Well, I grew up reading all the horse book classics, Black Beauty and King of the Wind is one of my favorites, which people don't know as much, but it's a beautiful book. And Misty, of course, and then all the Saddle Club books. And then, my sister and I signed up for a week-long horse camp one summer, and we absolutely loved it. But that's, of course, where I discovered my allergy to horses. And so she kept riding and I cheered her on from the sidelines. And I still absolutely love horses. I just did a photo shoot for Sidelines magazine with a horse. I popped my Claritin. We went to town. It was such a ball. But then now I still get to do trail rides, like the casual person's riding. And every summer, my husband's family, we all meet up like a family reunion in Wyoming and do a horseback trail ride in the mountains. And it's so spectacular. And that inspired one of the scenes in Horse Camp. So the scene where they're going for the creek swim was really inspired by those summer trail rides, because once we go through a creek, and if it's rained, it's plenty deep enough for them. And the guide said, "Be careful, your horse is a swimmer." And I laughed, but he was not kidding. That horse went in with me, my cell phone, everything. But it was the most delightful feeling I've had in years. Like, it was just awesome. So yeah, it inspired a scene.
I love that so much.
That's so cool.
And my husband, here's the funny thing. He was a horse boy. His sisters both had horses, they rode and jumped, and he got into it because of his older sisters. And then he jumped. And so like, he's actually a way, way better rider than I am on the trail rides. But we didn't discover this fact about each other for years into our relationship. So
that's so fun.
Yeah.
That's how did it come up when you finally
when I got invited when I was like we were dating seriously enough that I got invited on the big summer family trip. Then I was like, oh, he knows what he's doing. And his sisters were like, yeah, he rode and jumped. Like, what?
That's so funny.
Cool. And his older sister is a veterinarian and obviously rode horses. So she did the expert reading of the manuscripts and checking the veterinarian facts and things to make sure it was all accurate for me.
Because I was going to say the specific medical issues that come up in the book are like so accurate, and I was it's awesome. I mean, it's not awesome, it's terrible, I hate it, I've dealt with it before, it's awful, but I love how accurate it is in the book.
Good. Yeah, Dr. Sarah Adams was incredibly helpful to make sure it was plausible, because sometimes you want to make a dramatic choice, but I wanted it to make sense to people who really ride and to feel and to be accurate. So yeah, I was very lucky to have an expert reader.
It did. And I really appreciated too, that it was like a genuine issue that like, if you have been in that situation, you know just how dire it is, but then you were able to kind of back people that maybe weren't as much of an expert in it into it to understand like how bad it could be, but how it can, it was so good.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, it's scary. Horses are scary and heartbreaking. It's over and over.
It's one of my favorite things, and shouting out Tim, even though he's not here, is watching him throughout this podcast just be more and more aware of how poorly horses are put together. And like the concept of them being fun and doing anything, like it is consistently astounding. And if you've just grown up and been used to it, you don't think about it. But then you have these moments in these books, and I love his reactions to him. He's like, is that a thing that could really happen? Or like, oh yeah, like it could be really bad and then they could just die. And like it's said in such a casual way, not because we don't care, but because it's so off the wall. And so to have those moments, I think it's extra fun, whether you are deep in horse squirrel and horse understanding, or if you are a casual person, like that level of severity hits so much harder because it seems so implausible.
Right. And I always say you can't have a horse book without a horse in peril, because you just have to. But that comes from a very, very real place. One of my dear friends who has had many, many horses, her beloved horse died this week. And like that horse was taken care of, like a royal horse, but it's just so sadly frequent, Anyway,
horses.
Debbie Downer over here.
No, not at all. That's how they are.
Yeah. So it's tough, but I think kids like that, and adults too. They want the honesty. Life is really scary sometimes, and these things, really bad things, can happen. And so I think it's good to be honest about them.
Yeah, 100%.
And kids know when you're talking down to them, so it's good when it's, hey, that's the reality, dude.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's interesting, especially with kids. I think there's then this almost subconscious level of appreciation that they have around these things because it can be fleeting. And I just remember having discussions with my friends growing up who had a lot of indoor pets who were taken care of very differently. And with having a farm and outdoor pets and having some unfortunate things happen, I had a very different perspective on life and death. And I'd get some criticism because it was you speak like you don't care about them. I'm like, no, but I'm also very aware of the reality of things. And I love them very, very much. And I understand that they're not going to be with me forever. But it's a funny way to talk and think as a kid because it is this heavy, serious conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And you're just miles ahead in life experience when you've gone through that. And definitely. And that's, one of my other to state an obvious influence is Charlotte's Web. Like that's, the ultimate children's book. And it's exactly about growing up on a farm and seeing, life's tragedies right there and still trying to find the magic in life, and it makes it all that more precious because it can be so fleeting.
Okay, I love that so much because, I feel like you are now all of my favorite authors cite Charlotte's Web as one of their inspirations. So this is okay. This is awesome.
So darn good. It's so beautiful. If you haven't read it recently, it's always worth a reread. Anytime I need to reset, that's a good one.
I like that.
Okay, I'm throwing another book question your way.
Okay.
So what inspired you to write Horse Girl? What made you just say one day, okay, this is what I'm doing?
Okay, so prior to that, I had been performing comedy in Los Angeles at the Groundlings, which is improv and sketch comedy theater in LA where a lot of people on Saturday Night Live get their start. And Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Mikey Day, who's on the show now. So I was in Sunday Company, which is one of the performing troops with Mikey Day and Michaela Watkins and Edie Patterson, who's Judy Gemstone on The Righteous Gemstones. So all these, that was just my I love Groundlings. I taught improv there for a long time too afterwards. I even got to audition for Saturday Night Live. I got flown to New York. So anyway, I was doing all this live performing, and through that, I got hired to start writing some kids' TV. So the Nickelodeon folks came to see the shows and then hired me to help write a live show with young Nickelodeon talent. And then I got to write on some of the network comedy specials for Nickelodeon. And anyway, so long, blah, 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 that's kind of where I am in my professional life. And then in the meantime, a friend invited me. He lived on the North Fork of Long Island, and he had built a canoe, and he was having a party to launch the canoe. So I'm actually literally in the canoe with one of his other friends who I've never met before, Carl. And it turns out that Carl is the book editor for children's books. And he finds out that I've written for children's television. And he said, okay, if you ever have any ideas, we need funny books for girls. We just don't have enough funny books for girls. And you write comedy for, so if you ever have any ideas, tell me. And I just thought, oh yeah, he's just being nice, blah, blah, blah. And then a few months later, we met up again. And I said, what about horses? Because he grew up in Oklahoma and I grew up in Nebraska. And he absolutely loved it, but said, you have to write, at least a couple chapters for me to give to my boss. And I was like, I don't know. That feels like a lot of work, which is silly because now I know most people have to write the whole book. It's not just 2 chapters. You normally have to write the whole book. So I was just a whiny little brat. But I did it, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it was just instincts from all the years that I'd read all these horse books. And then combined with what I was used to writing for live comedy and writing for characters and creating characters. So I knew I had those skills. And so I just took it, just did my best on instinct. And it worked out. His boss liked the chapters and they ended up buying the book. So that was the crazy story, all because of a canoe.
That's incredible.
It just goes to show you, though, that I had spent a lifetime of preparing in different ways. It wasn't a direct path per se. I hadn't written any books before, but I was ready when the moment in the canoe happened. And a friend of mine, who is also a writer, Kara Kutresla, we call things the canoe moment. It's like you just you're just ready for it and you take a chance. And I decided to say, I decided to talk to strangers. That's another thing I was like, talk to people about what you're working on, talk about your projects. You just never know who might be in the canoe with you.
I love that so much. And I feel like that's something that we talk about a lot amongst our groups. Like Emily and I talk all the time about all of we had so many near misses with we almost went to the same art school and then we both chose different ones. And we had that moment of we've talked to several people in different canoes and now we're doing these projects together.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah. That's so great.
That's so cool. I love that that's how it happened because that's so fun and organic, and the different skill sets that you brought in being so diverse it's such an asset. That's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah, it was unexpected. And then you actually have to do the work. And
yeah.
One of the biggest notes I got from the publisher was that I needed to slow things down, which is really hard for me because in sketch comedy, you've got to get the audience instantly. And one thing you'll notice in my books is that opening chapters, there's a lot going on and they're high stakes. And I personally think that's great because you get the readers right away and they get invested. But I learned you also have to spend the time exploring their backstories and the reflective moments. And then that's where I found a lot of the emotional core of the story and the moments where she's reflecting and thinking internal thoughts as well. So that's a skill I had to learn. And I hope I'm getting better at that part too. But I still can't stand it when things go on and on. I'm like, let's just, where's the next thing? Let's keep going with action to keep driving the story.
I know we joke about it, and we'd mentioned it earlier we read a lot of young YA books, which is very funny because now I've gotten so spoiled and shifted to that side. I was like, no, they drop you right in, they get you going, they give you backstory, but we are moving through this so fast and it's so much fun. And I'll sit with a bigger book, and the slow burns are great too, but it's so funny because I'm just in that mode of but yeah, we're at page 250. We better be getting close to wrapping things up. I was like, oh no, there's 300 more pages to go. You got time.
Completely. It's a different pace. Oh, one thing I always talk that kids just love is that I say, you're the author, you're the boss. So maybe one of your chapters is 2 pages and maybe one is 30 and you get and they all are like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's up to you. And for whatever reason, when I do the author text, they love that. It gets so excited. But it's the power of pacing and changing up the pacing, just like, the gaits of a horse. We want to mix it up.
That's so good. I wish I had you telling me that about art as well, because being able to say, hey, you are in charge. If you want to do this as a sketch and this is a full thing and this is little and this is big, it's all on you.
Yeah, we don't get that lesson enough as young people.
No, or even as old people.
No, we never get it as old people. That's right.
It's the weird thing of just having someone give you permission to do the thing. And that's such a surreal thing. And I understand that there are a lot of people who don't need that. They are ready to go. The gate is always open for them and they are ready to run free. But for other people, and especially you're talking about working with younger kids who are creating and telling these stories, the story and the energy is there. And I'm just slightly opening the gate and giving them permission to tell it however they want and remind them that they can do that. So that, it's good to tell it to kids, but it's also great to hear it as adults and just be like, no, it's okay. You can do whatever you want with this. It's your world. You get to build it exactly how you want.
Absolutely. And I thought they would give me all these rules and direction, but not really. And then I realized I needed to act like I knew what it was. I need to pretend and do the whole fake it till you make it thing and just be really confident. And which is the only way to do it. And then I said to if you've spent a lifetime reading, you actually are prepared to do this. And the other thing, though, I had to do was read contemporary fiction because a lot of my you guys do that already. You're used to doing it. But I had to really get up to speed because all of my references were Charlotte's Web and, Saddle Club. So I did both. And that was super helpful as well. And that's something, not to get too deep on the writing side of things, but I tell people, just make sure you research what kids are reading now because it's quite different tonally. And then you can mix up the two.
No, I liked what you said about the dropping in at the start and really hooking them with adventure and then kind of bringing it back. And I think for the current world we live in with that instant gratification, scrolling type mindset, you need that initial hook. And I refuse to believe that all kids are so brain rotted like I am that they can't, consume and sit there for more time. But there's nothing wrong with wanting that initial like excitement, because that gets you then down the path of wanting to learn more. And I love, I was like, oh no, I'm so in. You gave me one chapter and I am in. And now we can slow down a little bit and get all the backstory. But I need to know what's now going to happen. There was lightning crashing. I want to know what's going on.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I think that's why really good TV pilots, something really big. And there is something you're very curious about that you need to find out about really fast and then stay curious about for a while. And that's really the approach I try to take.
It was I remember I was reading it and I'm like, wait, who's Bandit? And that was my very first,
Bandit in the other book? Yeah, what's going on here?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good. Little mystery off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then as the camp is getting described and everything, I'm just sitting there as an adult looking at, it's finally starting to get nice here. Like the green's coming out. It's like, I want to go to horse camp this summer. It's like, is there a way I can go to this horse camp over the summer? This sounds perfect. I'm just going to take a week off from my job and go to horse camp.
I think we all should. I've been thinking about that myself. I would really love that. I think I'm going to reach out to some horse camps, in the next week and say, does anybody want a tour stop? And could I sign up while I'm there?
Okay, that sounds incredible. Like you going to a horse camp and being like, oh yeah, here are the books I wrote, including horse camp. And then as a kid, that would be the coolest thing ever. I'm riding horses and meeting an author of a very good book. That's super cool. I hope somebody takes you up on that.
Oh, me too. Okay. I should have already done this outreach, but it's been a complicated year. But I have learned one thing is horse people are wonderful. Usually if you reach out, they want to do something with you and they're excited. And I've had the best experience going to different barns and meeting the families that are involved. It's just awesome. I'm going to the New Canaan Mounted Troop tomorrow, which is a barn in Connecticut. And anyway, those are my favorite stops, are the barn stops.
That's fantastic.
But I will say a lot of parents say to me that their child was not really a reader, but these books got them hooked, and the kids would stay up late reading them in bed. And they've multiple times people have said that has never happened before. So that makes me excited that if you just find the right book, anyone's a reader, the right story.
That's so true. You just have to find their thing. Okay. But now you've made me think of another question because you're going to barns. Are any of the horses in the book based on horses you know?
Yes. Clyde Lee, the horse tagonist from Horse Girl, was inspired directly by my sister's lesson horse in Nebraska, who is named Clyde Lee because it was just a perfect name.
Yes.
And was half Clydesdale, half thoroughbred, just like Clyde Lee in the book. Giant, gentle giant, the best horse ever, had just had little kids on him, for decades probably, and just was excellent and just easy and wonderful. And he was older, but that was my sister's very, very favorite lesson horse.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that it's him. But
I know. I love Clyde. He's real.
He's real. And then she had another one. I didn't put his name in the book, but it was Macho Man, who was with the opposite, just like a disaster, and always trying to was naughty, especially when it was dinner time. So we've had, and on the trail rides, there's been some naughtier horses, and so I use those for more of the spunky horse characters. Yeah.
Okay. So I will admit, so in Horse Girl, the little pony is exactly like my horse,
Really?
Okay, my horse is worse behaved, but the personality very similar. And I was immediately like, why is Willa mad about having to ride her? I mean, that's a great horse. She shouldn't be mad.
It was an important lesson for Willa to learn, right?
It was.
She's a better rider. Yeah.
Nope. And see, I was on the other end of it because I grew up around Percheron. So I grew up around the big workhorses, and we got a pony once who was a jerk and I hated him. So I was on the Willa side of things. I was like, why would I give up these perfect gentle giants that I love, that are amazing, for this little monster that just causes trouble? So it was an important journey for me as well to go through and be like, it's probably okay. They're probably going to be just as good. You just need to get better.
Emily and I needed different lessons from your book.
I love it. I love it. There's a lot of takeaways. But what I need to try to do, I found pictures of my sister when she was, little, and her little dressage outfit was so cute. But I got to find a picture of Clyde Lee. There's got to be one. So I'll work on digging that out.
Yeah.
And she also had the briars that are a big part of the book, of course. So we dug out her old briars. They're in the closet back there. So I bring them along on my book tour. And one of them looks a lot like Clyde Lee. That's why she got him. So yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And so does your sister still have horses, still do lessons like that kind of stuff?
She doesn't anymore. It's just,
It's a lot.
Yeah. But she's so great to have along when we go do. So she wrote the Mad Libs called Hold Your Horses, which is the horses Mad Libs.
Oh my gosh.
And, so sometimes we'll do little stops together.
That's so cool. Oh, also, Tim's going to be livid. He missed that there was a horse named Macho Man on the show, by the way. He's going to be livid.
Oh my gosh. I got to look for the Macho Man picture too. I'm going to find these and send them to you.
Yes,
that would be amazing.
And then there was a horse on one of our trail roads in Wyoming that was named, I think, Alfredo, which is in horse camp. And Alfredo was very naughty to my sister-in-law, who was terrified of horses. And this was her big, she was going to have this emotional growth by going on a trail ride. And then she got a horse that was so bad that the trail guide left and took the horse back to camp because he was so naughty. And she had to ride back on the back of another person. I felt horrible for her. It's not funny. She was really afraid, but we had to make him a character in the book, and she's going to be surprised. It's going to be a surprise. She has 3 daughters who are kind of inspired the triplets in the book. So I cannot wait for them to read. They don't know that that's going to be in there.
That's so exciting. That's such a good surprise.
Yes, that's the best. Oh, and I think we've talked about this before, but you kind of have to laugh at the naughty horses stuff because once again, you can really want them to be different, but if they've decided this is where we're at, that's just how things are going to go. And I fully understand why people are intimidated by horses, and that is a big thing. But as a person, I was like, oh no, you just have to laugh because it's insanity. And that's how we get through this.
It's so true. It's so true. And I just mentioned I was doing that other horse photo shoot with horses. And we lucked out. Somebody loaned us really good dressage horses. But what I didn't know is that they're a little bit they do what they like because they're not lesson horses who are used to just mellow. No. And so this horse, I had a pearl studded dress because I got married this year. So they kind of wanted a bridal look for one of them. And he was just munching the pearls off my dress. Oh my God. Doing as he liked, nudging me out of the way. He was the star. I was just, the background for him. I was a prop in his photo shoot.
That's the most dressage horse thing I've ever heard in my life.
It was hilarious. I had clearly never been around such a high level diva before.
They are divas for sure.
Yes. But beautiful. Get away with murder. Woo. Good looks, talent, get away with their naughtiness.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your favorite character?
I
know this is hard.
I really do love Amara because I love her complex story. I feel like it's really realistic in terms of female relationships at that age that can be very complicated, a lot of emotions, a lot of misunderstandings. So I love that dynamic. And then the other thing I really love is the sisters, Willa and Kay. I guess this is more relationships than specific characters. But I just love, because I have a sister and I like that they don't always get along, which I think is realistic. They have fight arguments through the laundry chute door, which my sister and I always had. And yeah, so those are some of my favorites.
I love it. So if you were going to write like another perspective or another character, who do you think you'd explore? Would it be Amara?
I think so. I think absolutely. Yeah, she would be the perfect pick, because there's so much that we haven't even found out yet, by the way. We allude to some things, but we haven't explored all there is to explore with Amara yet.
Which, as a reader, is the most exciting thing to hear, because I was like, yes, I will be eagerly waiting when I get to find out more about Amara, because I would like to know.
She super won me over by the end of this book.
Oh, good. Well, at the beginning, when I was thinking of this idea, I thought, well, we'll meet a new sort of foil of a character at horse camp. Because I had considered maybe Willa would go by herself to horse camp, but then I really, really missed Amara. So I totally I reworked the idea completely so that there would be a way. And I'm so glad, because it ended up being really important. I just couldn't give her up. I missed her.
She's such a good character. Like, they're all fantastic characters. Like I was saying earlier, I just love like that you took that type of character and just made her so different, and I love it so much.
Oh, good. Yay. Yeah. Yeah, because we're all like have both sides of us. You know, we have a lot going on that people don't always know right away. So I think you can relate, and I really hope, because I think you would normally relate to Willa in terms of everyone knows that you make mistakes and you say the wrong thing, and that's very relatable, and you don't feel perfect most of the time at that age. But I think maybe if you keep reading till the end, you might relate to Amara as well. But you got to read to the end.
You do have to read to the end. And again, like the way that, just speaking of mystery, that felt like a whole other mystery to me that just built so well throughout the book. So I loved it.
Wow, you guys are awesome. I'm going to have you blurb all my books. I love this.
It's fun. It's such a fun, like I said, it's the nostalgia of being a kid and reading the horse books, but also being an adult and getting transported back to being a teenager or a preteen and being nervous, but also just having that adult lens to look through. And yeah, I'm so in for the ride of it all. And I love this level of mystery as someone who is not a big horror person or like actual scary. Like, this is the perfect amount of campfire ghost story elements. I was like, oh no, this is just the right amount of suspense for me to really have a good time and not be stressed.
Okay, good. I really wanted it to be just enough of a tingly campfire feeling without really being too afraid, but just enough afraid to feel like a little bit scared.
Yeah. And there's a moment where Wills is in the woods, and I just love being kind of in her head and in her perspective, because the way she talks about it, like, you nail that feeling of, yeah, logically, I understand. I walked this path in the light. I know what it looks like, but at night, like the sounds and the moon and the fact that you're in this removed place and you've got all of the ideas of the campfire stories happening in your head, and you've got your own overactive imagination, like all of those things just start to build, and the world starts to suddenly feel not as grounded anymore and a little bit more supernatural. And that's such a fun feeling as a reader.
Yeah, it's a visceral change in the dark. And and if you have a imagination, it's certainly going into overdrive at nighttime when you're walking through the forest alone. And again, that was a lot of thinking back to my own time at camp, and we're so protected all the time as kids, and the fact that, you know, you'd kind of be on your own a little bit at camp, and even our trail rides in Wyoming, you're out in the middle of the forest. And I really did think, gosh, I don't know, we're pretty far away. Our cell phones aren't working. Something could happen. And just to be honest, we rarely get that real sense of adventure in life anymore. So I think it's fun whenever you can feel it for real.
I think too, as adults, there's a weird understanding of all the things that could go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And so that adult stress is very different than kid stress, because kid stress is so much your imagined issues. And the things that you're most focusing on is, oh my gosh, what if there is actually a demon in these woods? Unlike adult stress to be like, oh, there could actually be some sort of carnivore in here that could actually attack me and all that. So like,
Totally.
I love that moment of getting to be the kid part of it and have the imagined and perceived worries as opposed to the real, like, oh no, if I go out and wander up on our hill, like there's a chance I will encounter a rabid animal, which is a very real and visceral fear and a thing I'd have to deal with, versus a kid be like, what if there is something like crazy haunting these woods?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Scary both ways.
All right. Well, I only have one more thing to talk about, but I think we might get into it a little bit. So I just want to talk about, like, what are your other favorite horse medias and books? We talk about like Saddle Club, King of the Wind. What are you, a Heartland person? Are you what other stuff do you like?
Heartland and oh my gosh, the Netflix series where there's a boarding school. Free Rein.
Free Rein. Okay, Free Rein. Yes.
I love Free Rein. That's really a fun one that I can watch over and over. And let's see, there's so many. Well, like, who doesn't love Spirit? Come on, guys.
Oh, Spirit's so good.
Classic.
Yeah, we just rewatched that recently. It's so good.
So good. It's so good. Oh, my all-time favorite, Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. Now, this is controversial because they were doing really horrible things to the horses. The horses were diving horses off of a platform at like Coney Island, I think, or similar.
I think they toured maybe, but yeah, I think you're right. It was like based there.
Looking back, it's all wrong, but I think it was something that actually did happen in our history. But gosh, did that perfectly capture that coming of age feeling of loving horses and then falling in love with someone for the first time while you're in love with a horse. And I love that one. That's going way back though. And then the other thing I'll say for horse media is that when I was young, my sister and I used to like VHS tape. This tells you how old I am. So jumping competitions and the Olympics. And just any rainy day, we just pop those tapes in and watch them. Like, we could have recited the judges' commentary word for word. But yeah, so that was my main, as a child, like, horse media.
I love that. So who did you have tapes of? Like, who was your team?
I could not tell. I just, like, anytime it was on NBC, whatever it was on, we would just record it. Like, if there was a horse thing, and back then you didn't know when things were going to be on, so we'd like and shove the tape in and hit record, and just so we could play it over and over. We could not get enough.
That's so cool. I love that so much.
Yeah. Oh, and then it's too late for the podcast, so you probably don't want this in, but I was going to say, there was a competition, but it ended yesterday. Was Win the Ultimate Horse Library, and there's 40 horse authors that we all got together.
Oh my gosh!
Decided to donate our books. But yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah, I wish I had thought about it, and then I would have said we should record.
Yeah, we would have kept that between us, and we would have just repeatedly applied. I think it would have been a scam. I think.
And I hope we'll get to do it next year again. It was just kind of an impromptu thing, but we're donating one library to the winner, and then the winner gets to choose a nonprofit that gets the Ultimate Horse Library as well.
That's amazing. I love that so much.
I've
been hanging out with a lot of horse authors. I knew some of them before, but now there's like 40 of us on this, text chain. So, our email chain. So that's been really cool.
Love that. Yeah, that's so. And now I'm like wondering. I'm like, I wonder if I know any of them.
I know. Well, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, and so are these authors? Are they all currently writing, or are these ones who've just legacy have written?
Currently writing. So, Sarah Moslin Neer, who's written several, both grown-up horse memoir and then children's horse books, and let's see. There's a book called there's Elizabeth Letts. There's Pulitzer Prize winners. There's the author of Horse Girls, not Horse Girl. And then, there's so many. There's so many. So cool. But yeah, all currently writing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's such a great community. I know you know this. It's anybody who's a horse girl and just great people really want to help each other. And I find that really inspiring because sometimes authors can be really competitive because obviously you have books in the same genre coming out at the same time, but we just have been helping each other out. We do book events together. We interview each other. And it works out so well.
I really love that. I feel like that's the nice thing when, like, especially I always think of when we go to Dragon Con and there's a whole digital media track and you're meeting all of these other people who also produce podcasts and do all of this. And so much of the time, the mood is exactly the same of like, oh my gosh, I'll check that out. Like, that's super cool. I didn't know that, you're doing this. And I so much prefer that community. Like, the competition can be nice at a certain point to maybe motivate you a little bit, but there's so much space and there's so much going on to have that group of people who understand exactly what you're talking about without having to describe all of the backstory is such a nice place to find support and encouragement.
It's so nice. It's so wonderful. And you just reminded me of something, which is I go to Briarfest most years, and I'm going to be a seminar speaker this July at Briarfest, and I am so excited.
Amazing.
That's the bet. That's 30,000 horse girls, horse boys, and their supportive parents, and just grown up horse girls and horse boys, and it is awesome. And everyone just flies the horse girl freak flag so high, and we love each other and support each other. And I feel when I go there, I feel like a rock star. I had little kids in the bathroom going, "Are you the author of Horse Girl?" And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. There's the sweetest, most enthusiastic audience. And they do hobby horse jumping. Or actually, there's not even a hobby horse. It's literally just kids running, and they set up jumps for them. And it's the cutest, most awesome thing. And I want to do it so badly.
You should do it. You should do it.
I'm going to do it this year. So yeah, if anyone's headed to Briarfest, come say hi. I'll be doing an absolutely free seminar about how to write a horse book or a horse TV show. And I'll also be signing books at the bookseller booth for the whole weekend.
That's so good. Tell me more about where to find you and everything. Let's do that part. Tell me where to buy your books. Tell me how to find you, all that jazz.
Okay. Well, the easiest place to find my books is horsegirlbook.com. And that will tell you everywhere in the world you can click to buy both books. Although I always encourage you to go to your independent local bookstore if you can, but there are many, many options out there. And you can read about me there, or you can go to my personal website, which is Carrie, Carrie, Seim, S like Sam, EIM like Mary, at carrieseim.com. And you can, I do some journalism writing. So sometimes you can see I'll have articles out. But everything is really at horsegirlbook.com. You can read reviews of the books and find out where to buy them and find out where to come say hi to me. I'm doing a tour, and we're going to add more stops very soon.